The Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of The Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive self-images of original people and original people culture. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome all my narrators. How's everybody doing today on this wonderful Wednesday? It is hump day. So here we go, full speed. Weekend's right around the corner. Can you believe it? We're about to shift into summer. It seems like spring just got here. But we're shifting gears into summer. Big stuff, all kinds of fun, vacations, and things of that nature. Is like kind of surreal going into summer of 2004 when we know it wasn't that long when we just the world went haywire. We was locked up, on lockdown, nature going haywire. We got the murder hornets and now we're back. That's crazy how life is sometimes. So how was everybody's Mother's Day? What did you do for the special lady in your life? Your motherhood figure? Either your biological mother or someone who had a mother-like influence in your life. I don't subscribe to greeting card holidays, but Mother's Day and Father's Day, those are two legit holidays that need to be acknowledged because both of those are responsible for you being here. Your father, he spread the seed, and then your mother was the portal into this physical plane. So they always need to be, acknowledged at all times and respected. And no matter how big or small a role they may have played in your life, I know everything has there's an exception to every rule. So of course, if you was raised in foster care, or you didn't know your biological mother or father, or whatever the case may be, you definitely need to acknowledge your mother at all times and let her know that she's appreciated. Within our community, I know it's not always the case where your biological mother raises you. Sometimes it's grandmother, sometimes it's auntie, sometimes it's big sister or big cousin that raises you as their own child and nurtures you. And then on the father's end, sometimes it's not always your biological father. Sometimes it's uncle. Sometimes it's big brother. Sometimes it's cousin. Sometimes it's a friend of the family. Your father's friend that looks out for you. However it go, but So I was just curious how you spent Mother's Day. Me, myself personally, my queen passed away in 2007. I went up to the gravesite and, got some long stem roses for my queen mother and my grandmother. It was just not even, 10 feet apart. So that was very convenient for me. So yeah, that's how I spent mine. All right, so getting into the content. So to new listeners to the Narrative Podcast, how I usually start this off, I usually, walk you through a synopsis of the Narrative Podcast before diving into the content. And that's precisely, what I intend to do right now. For all my regular listeners, my listening audience, they're my narrators. They already know demonstration. They already know what the Narrative Podcast is all about, and aware of my content and how I'm going to present it. But I do these brief overviews, to get people familiar with the content who are unfamiliar with me or the Narrative Podcast. So I just like to go on record as saying, there are thousands of podcasts titled the Narrative Podcast, but mine is the only one that actually matters, the only one with sustenance, the only one dedicated to the upliftment and edification of original people. So welcome to the Narrative Podcast. And having said that, I think that's a perfect segue to my tagline. The Narrative Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture? By providing positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast once again. So that's entirely what the Narrative Podcast is about. It's dedicated to the upliftment, progression, edification, positive reinforcement of original people and original people culture. My mission statement is to inspire the listening audience to responsibly utilize whatever platform they occupy to deliver positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. So yeah, that's the mission statement of the Narrative Podcast. So first and foremost, another misnomer about the Narrative Podcast, I call my listening audience my narrators. I call my listening audience my narrators because we're living in a digital information age. We share things online. Pretty much any platform that you occupy has a wall or a means in which you can share your status update. And when you're, sharing your status update or, on a platform where you have a bio of your profile, what you're doing is you're, telling or narrating your own story, your hobbies, your interests, your beliefs, your value systems, your turn-offs, your turn-ons, political affiliations, all that can be, collected by viewing a person's online profile, observing the way somebody tells or narrates their own story. You can be whatever you want to be online. It's just all about the perception, all about how you want to build yourself up online, all about how you want people to perceive you online by telling or narrating your own story. So that's what I mean when I call my target listening audience my narrators. People telling their own story in a positive way. In their own story, because the demographic, my demographic is original people and original people culture. Original people. So as original people, you want to, the story you want to tell about yourself is always a positive one. You want to tell the world the true nature of who you are as an original man or an original woman. And the true nature of who you are as an original person is either a king or a queen, God or a goddess of the universe, and that's how you need to present yourself online. And then people outside of our culture who are only given negative frames of reference, that's how they need to, reference us. They need to reference us as such. And that's what, why I call my target listening audience my narrators. Because while we cannot control how people outside of our culture perceive us as, what they think about us, how they interact with us, how they react to us, we can control the type of content we're putting out. We can't control what the media puts out. The media, they put out intentionally put out negative frames of reference. Oh, I guess I kind of skipped over a part. So that's why I call my another crucial point why I call my podcast the Narrative Podcast. I call my podcast the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So what I want to do is design a platform to counter the way the media intentionally misrepresents and misappropriates our people's images and likenesses to push and promote their agenda about our people and our culture. So that's why I call my podcast the Narrative Podcast. So there you go, the first two big misnomers about the Narrative Podcast. Some sub points I want to tack on to that before moving on to my next thing I feel you should know about. So like I said, the media intentionally misrepresents our people. Intentionally misrepresents our images and our likenesses to push the agenda. They primarily do this for profit, but they also do that because they're controlled by the powers that be. And who are the powers that be? The powers that be are wealthy, elite class, aka wealthy white people. And so, that's why they employ the media to basically do their dirty work, which is basically to tarnish the images of everybody who is not of the elite class. Because what they want to do is project themselves in a pristine, wholesome light. They want to be the faces of sophistication, refinement, etiquette, proper etiquette, manners, grooming. They want to be the face of that. And to, maintain that image, they want to basically make everybody in comparison to them, appear to be degenerate, appear to be uncultured, unrefined. A bum, basically. Because what they want to push is, life in excess. They want to push and promote and normalize the finer, air quotes, the finer things in life, the expensive car, the expensive garments, spending money just because you have money to spend, They want to justify having a house with an east and a west wing if you're the only one that lives there. Elite class type stuff, privileged type stuff. Having special privileges and that's the lifestyle they want to maintain and the image that they want to personify. Just making it seem like they're the cool club. when in reality they're not the cool club. They're really miserable, and they surround themselves with status symbols because they don't have any culture. They steal from everybody else's culture. They don't have any just natural sense of style. And like I said, they do it to everybody, but they do it to our people, the original people, the most, because they fear our people the most. Because we're so impactful and influential, everybody naturally follows the original man and woman's example. Everybody tries to copy off of our people in some capacity, whether it's music, whether it's style, the way we walk, the way we talk, our food. Everybody, borrows from our culture in some type of way, is influenced by our culture in some type of way. And, the powers that be, they definitely don't like that. And they definitely don't, like what we represent, being the natural people of this planet. We represent hey, I don't need, these status symbols to validate me. I don't need, this $100,000 car to validate me. I don't need these European threads to say I'm cool. This jewelry don't make me fly. I'm fly because I'm fly. That's what we represent as a people. That we just, everything they do to us, we keep on triumphing in the face of adversity. As many jokes as they crack about us, how negatively they try to portray us, everybody steady keeps on trying to be like us, is influenced by us. So therefore, we represent a threat to their world. Because they, one of their biggest fears is people will emulate us just only being content with the things we actually need in life and not worshiping these status symbols. And then, fun fact, they don't even spend money on these status symbols that they surround themselves by. The wealthy elite class, they use trust funds, they use insurance, they use credit, they use everything but actual money to purchase these status symbols. Then on top of that, they figure out a way to make these status symbols acquire them more wealth. So they buy them just to have them appreciate in value. They figure, they was doing NFTs before NFTs was a thing. They buy artwork. They host these big soirees where they flaunt all their status symbols. So they want to be seen by the world with it. And then after, they're seen by the world with their status symbols, then they get rid of them. They lease them out. They get insurance on them. They figure out a way for their jewelry to make them money. They figure out a way for their car to make them more money. They figure out a way for their homes, their real estate to make them more money so they can be more elite. You know what I mean? But we, the working class people, we're duped into believing, I want to be, that's the face of success. So I want to work myself into an early grave trying to chase after these status symbols when the elite class ain't even spending actual money to acquire their status symbols. But another reason why they fear our people so much is nobody likes to be reminded of the past. The elite class, they're historians. They're aware of their history and they're aware of our history. And they know if there never was a us, there would never be a them. They know we are the reasons they acquired their financial wealth. They know we're the reason why they have systemic power. And their biggest fear is that we would stop fighting amongst ourselves and reclaim everything they've taken and are currently taking from us, then turn around and do to them what they've done and are currently doing to us. And that's why, they invest so much money into warping and distorting our images and our likenesses, because they want us to portray us as trash to the rest of the free world. And all you have to do is watch TV, listen to music, read a book, and you'll see that they have, for the time being, succeeded in doing so. But anyway, some more stuff you need to know about the Narrator Podcast before diving into the content. The Narrator Podcast is a positive space. I don't do any negativity. I don't do any bashing. I don't do any, name calling. This platform is just a positive space. It's all about the upliftment, edification, and, just positive self-talk about original people and original people culture. I'm just all about trying to build my people up, utilizing my platform to build my people up, not tear my people down, and inspiring all my listening audience to utilize all their platforms to do the same. I don't do no messiness, no gossip, no rumors, none of that. However, what I do engage in is current news. So I do, usually deliver commentary on things that are happening globally, nationally, or just something within our community, and how I usually, address those type of situations is I try to unpack it through, our eyes, from our perspective, because the media go out of its way to have us looking and sounding crazy. So if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this: if you don't tell your own story will be told for you. So when I deliver commentary, spoiler alert, I will be delivering commentary. I'm just unpacking it from our eyes, from our perspective. Why is this why is this headline? What is the significance of this headline? What does it mean as it relates to original people? Another way I try to unpack it, if I ever bring up a celebrity's name, a famous person's name, I'm not trying to, clout chase or attach or insert, my platform to their name or nothing like that. It's just merely as a vehicle to make a point, to cement a point that I'm trying to make. And everything all the points and sub points I really try to, point out here on this platform as it relates to our people, original people, is yes, we have our in-house issues. Yes, we have our things we need to work on, take accountability and all that. But almost 90% of the time, anything negative we do as a people can be, linked back to systemic oppression, linked back to us being systemically programmed and conditioned to do this negative, deviant thing that we're in the media for. Whatever, we're being railroaded or rousted for in the media, whatever, messy gossip circulating around about us, whether it's true or not true, it can, really get linked back to, systemic programming and conditioning. And that's how I try to basically unpack, current issues. Because I don't know about anybody else from my community. I'm really tired of us, bearing the cross for a lot of things in our community. Anything negative, before the story fully unfolds, we rush, to the defense. We got to do better. We got to do better. Like, that's our first words out of our mouth before we even, have the full story. We have to do better. We got to step up as a people. We got to do better. We got to do better. We have to do better. You understand? Like, do you even get how sick that is? It's always we have to do better. The people that haven't done anything to anybody, they got our whole entire existence taken from us, our origins lied about, our culture stolen, physically removed from our native land, and had, forced into subjugation. We've had other people's religions forced on us, ways of life forced on us. We're the only group of people that has ever, suffered that. But we always got to do better. So that's how, I try to unpack any current news from the perspective, that's how the perspective of how I try to unpack any current news affecting our people in any type of way. So if I bring up a famous person's name, it's not to bash them, belittle them, berate them. This is just really trying to illustrate a point that I'm making. That's all. This is a positive space. I don't engage in negativity and gossip. I don't promote it, endorse it, or stamp it. Also, this is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour. Number one, it's an audio platform, not video yet. So, I got to keep my listening audience entertained, enthralled, and, attentive to the content that I'm presenting to them. So, I can't keep your attention if I'm droning on and boring you to sleep. So I gotta hit all my speaking points, have a speaking point, number one, then hit all my speaking points in a timely manner. I don't just, want this to be a glorified rant. I want the people to listen to my podcast to actually get something out of it, apply it. So make it practical, make it applicable, and make it digestible. So that's why I try to, really focus on my time limit for the content that I present the listening audience. Last but not least, I refer to our people. By our people, I mean Black people, African American, however you want to, however it go, whatever you want to refer to us as. On this platform, the Narrator podcast, I refer to our people as original people. And while it's not mandatory, I try to encourage anybody who listens to my podcast to do the same. And I do this for two reasons. Number one, first and foremost, is the historical relevance of referring to our people as original people, because we were and are the original people of this planet, this plane, this dimension for people, that believe in different things, flat earth and dimensions and all that. We was here first, thousands of years before any other ethnicity, any other race, religion, culture, creed, however you want to slice it. We was here first. Before everybody that. Not only was we here first, we pretty much invented pretty much every modern day invention you can think of can really be historically traced all the way back to us. Like anything you can think of, most likely we invented it, especially here in America with the industrial Renaissance era, the era of inventions, all the people that history they teach us in school, the people that got the historical claim they invented it, didn't actually invent it. Actually, they just ended up stealing it from slaves they owned and putting their name on it. But that's another story for a different time. But, we pretty much invented every single thing. We pretty much created every form of architecture that science can't explain. Our people was behind it. We've always been highly civilized, highly advanced. We didn't evolve from no monkeys, no apes, simians, no primates. As they try to tell us we did. That's the racial slur that they like calling us. We was already highly advanced. We was already standing upright, fully erect. We wasn't hunched over, living in caves, using prehistoric weapons and tools. We was already doing super highly advanced stuff. The original people. That's what I mean, on the historical relevance of calling our people original people. And then one more sub point that I want to tack on to that before I break down the second reason why I refer to our people as original people. So a sub point I want to tack on to that, being original people, being here first, of course, we naturally existed on every corner of the globe. We was everywhere. Every continent you can think of, there was already a large concentration of us. But the false narrative they keep on trying to perpetuate and keep on trying to instill into our heads is that, how integral slavery played a part of our existence. While it was real, while it was barbaric and brutal, that wasn't the definitive moment of our existence. Slavery did happen, chattel slavery did happen, but it wasn't the most defining moment in history as far as our people is concerned. As a matter of fact, being original people, existing in all these corners of the globe, not all of us came to all these places on slave boats, especially here in the Americas. The peoples that they call Native Americans aren't, the original Native Americans. Read Christopher Columbus's journal. He called them Africans. We already existed here in the Americas. We already existed every continent of the globe. There was already a high concentration of us, already indigenously located there, especially in any Spanish-speaking, territory. No such thing as an Afro-Latino or Afro-Mexican, an Afro-nothing, Afro-Chinese. Those are just people, the dark-skinned people with African DNA living in that particular portion of the world. And like I said, we was everywhere. We was all on the continent of Asia. We was all, in Australia. We was all in the Philippines. Every Spanish-speaking nation you can think of. European places, Switzerland, UK, Ireland, Scotland. We was in all the lands. Hawaii. Yeah. Do your research on Rapa Nui and King Kamehameha. We was in places like Russia, the Tartarians. It was everywhere, is my point. So the original man and woman originally existed everywhere. You know, we influenced everything originally, like everything can originally be traced back to us. And that's the historical significance why I refer to our people as original people. Now, the second part two of the reason why I refer to our people as original people, that's an attempt to unify us as a people because we are so diverse. There are so many different types of us, speaking so many different languages, hailing from so many different land masses. And when other people look at us, you know what they call us? No matter, you know, what country we're from, no matter what language we speak, they look at us and they say, y'all black. But we're the only ones that makes these differences amongst us. You know, we're the only ones that got to claim and cling on to our nationalities. We got to say, you know, I'm Trini, I'm Jamaican, I'm Haitian, you know, I'm from, you know, Barbados, I'm from the Virgin Islands, you know, I'm from the Bahamas, I'm from Antigua, but everybody just, you know, they call us black. But we're the only ones that make that indifference. So that's the second reason why I refer to our people as original people. It's it unifies us as a people. It takes that division out of there. Because as original people, we can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. And what was the original point of all civilization? That's up for debate. What was Africa before the colonizers named it Africa? You know, what was Egypt before the colonizers named it Egypt? Not only what it was, where was it before it was placed on maps? That's open for debate, but we can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. But yeah, that's why I refer to our people as original people. Here on the Narrator podcast, I think I covered everything you need to know about. I gave you the 101. Anything I may have glazed over or you feel still kind of hazy on, never fear. I'm over 300 episodes strong, and I'm intend on obviously keep going. You can download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator podcast wherever you get your podcast information from. So remember, when you see that Narrator podcast link, hit that downward arrow and, you know, download it. Download the episode, click the little heart-shaped like button, leave me a comment. But yeah, I got over 300 episodes of content out, so you can like bring yourself up to speed. If I glazed over anything in my synopsis of the Narrator podcast, but you know, that's it and that's all, and I'm gonna dive right on into the content this evening during my weekday edition of the Narrator podcast. So for the new people, I have two different formats. I got my weekday format and I have my weekend format. So during the weekday, for my weekday format, what I tend to do to stay true to my mission statement, which is to share positive frames about original people and original people culture, the positive frames of reference that I'm going to share about, you know, our people and our culture during the weekday comes in the form of positive news articles. And I share the positive news articles during the weekday because we're constantly being bombarded with negative news. They want to, you know, they want to warp our, the way our self-image, how we perceive ourselves as a people. They want to constantly, you know, put us under the spell that, you know, only negative things happen. And then on a subconscious level, we'll subscribe to these negative isms. They always want to show us going, off to jail. They want to show us getting unalived. They want to show us engaging in, degenerate activity, such as selling or using drugs, overindulging in alcohol, fornicating on camera, engaging in debaucherous activity. They want to push and promote gang culture, pimp culture, whore culture, thought culture. They want to constantly bombard us with that 24/7, every single day, 7 days a week. And, that it's just too much. So to counter that, that's why I put out these positive news articles, to just put out that positive frames of reference that positive things do happen in our community. We do have leaders, stepping up, leading. We do have people triumphing in the face of adversity. We do have people within our community that have answers to the problems that, the powers that be have created for our people, and provide these resources to our people. Because they want to constantly just fixate and promote the negative. They want to reward the negative, give the negative a platform to keep growing. So that's why I do positive news articles during the week. So, having said that, the first positive news article for the weekday edition of the Narrator podcast, the headline reads, 18-year-old who earned a neuroscience degree after battling leukemia and experiencing homelessness. And the brother's name is Dallas Salas. So once again, I just got to point that out. The article he refers to himself as Afro-Latino, Afro-Latin, but ain't no such thing. Just putting that out there. He speaks Spanish, but, But Brother Dallas Salas, neuroscience degree from Arizona State University. He was diagnosed with leukemia at age 5, and while he was studying for his degree, he experienced homelessness. Now, the article didn't say how he became homeless, but he overcame that, graduated, got a good job. Join me into giving a warm Narrative podcast round of applause for our brother, Mr. Dallas Salas, on earning his degree in neuroscience. And in being an original man, of course, he's a scientist. We were the original scientists. Next article on the weekday edition of the Narrative podcast, the headline reads, lawyer starts law firm with her best friend and sister to help transform black communities. And the sister's name is Shaymana, S-H-A-Y-M-A-N-A, Shaymaine, S-H-A-Y-M-A-N-E, Robinson. Didn't want to mess the sister's name up. Shaymaine. Anyway, so the law firm she started was True Lawyer. And True Lawyer is a trademark and real estate firm with the initiative of empowering black communities. She got the inspiration to start her law firm because a professor said she's going to, if she wants to be a good lawyer, she's going to have to make a choice. She's either going to have to be a full-time lawyer or a part-time mother, and she can't be both. So, that lit the fire, because anytime you tell us we can't do something, what do we turn around and do? But anyway, that's how True Lawyer was born. True Lawyer has been the lead trademark and real estate firm in the United States for the last 3 years. If you want to know more about her law firm, you can visit it online at truelawyers.com. And her physical address, her law firm is located on 73rd West Monroe Street, 100, Chicago, Illinois, 60603. Her telephone number is 312-442-0057. They do not have an address for press inquiries, so if you're looking to try to interview her, I don't know, you would just have to call and just be professional, be appropriate, and I'm pretty sure she would be more than happy to provide you with an interview for, just putting that out for the podcasters out there and anybody else that has some type of platform where you interview people. Just be respectful. Use common sense. So yeah. Now join me into giving our sister, Shemaine Robinson, a warm narrative podcast for her law firm, True Lawyer. All right, moving right along. So you guys, for the new listeners, I've already told my previous listening audience, in my effort to put out positive frames of reference, I'm going to start, broadcasting 2 to 3 times a week. Any day during the week that I have available to do an upload of the Narrative Podcast, I'm going to do an upload of the Narrative Podcast to increase positivity, to inspire and promote positivity, because there's just too much messiness. But in doing so I don't get stagnated and burnt out, I'm going to dial back the articles I share. So usually I share anywhere from 5 to 6 articles. So now I'm going to just kind of dial it back during the weekday, since I plan to do more uploads to 2 or 3. And then on the weekday episodes, not all of them, I'm going to deliver commentary on, especially if I do days back to back. So just let you know, bring you up to speed. I don't have that many articles this evening, and that's why. So, having said that, the next positive news article this evening on the weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast, the headline reads, Black woman from NYC, previously incarcerated, passes bar exam on first try. And the sister's name is Africa Owens. Africa is a New York City native. She was previously incarcerated in the female correctional facility in New York. The article didn't say which one. If you're a New York native, you can probably guess where she was at when she was serving her time. So she passed, the article goes on to say she passed the New York state bar exam on her first try, and she read, her bar exam results on TikTok. So she had just got the news, She had overcome trial after trial, just got released, got on her feet, got her own place. So she was doing like a vlog type of thing. She was doing like where I started, where I'm at now type thing on TikTok. Usually I'm kind of against those, like, I'm all for the journey, but I'm more of a finished product. I don't really like, experiencing things kind of that you're working on. I want to see the finished product of your labor. But in this case, there's an exception to every rule, and that is the exception. She was formerly incarcerated. She came home, got her own place, defied the odds, being a woman. She got herself a job, kept from being on the streets, kept her trajectory straight, and removing herself from elements that would have put her back on the collision course to be back inside, the penitentiary, and passed the New York State Bar exam to be a lawyer. A whole lot of lawyers did that. So, like, one of my favorite, people that did that was formerly incarcerated was, Judge Greg Mathis. When he had his own show initially, in his theme song, his theme opening sequence, he shared his journey to where he got at, how he started and how he ended up. So, but anybody that overcome this system we got, that's like directly, the reason why it exists is to deny us, our people, original people, access to, air quotes, the American dream. Anybody that overcomes that, that's definitely an inspiration. But like I said, the sister's name is Africa Owens. Her TikTok video where she shared her results has now gone viral. It's over 3 million views and counting. And her online account where she shared it with is Airo, AIRROE_999. And I think that's her Instagram title. That's where she shared the story and the link to the TikTok. Pardon me. But let's put them together. Let's give a warm narrative podcast round of applause for our sister, Africa Owens. And just want to point out, these is all females. And that's a perfect way to round out Mother's Day. This was a story about, all sisters like this week. And it wasn't intentionally done at all. It's just like when I do these positive news articles, if I see a positive article that comes across my feed, what I'll do is screenshot it and take bulleted notes and just give you guys, the listening audience, the highlights from the bulleted notes that I take about the positive news article. So it was, that was the way the universe worked it out. I didn't go looking for, everybody that I'm speaking about to be female. Because brothers, we deserve, some positive shine too. We do positive things. But it just fortuitously worked out like that tonight. And I think that was partially because of, Mother's Day holiday, which was on Sunday. So, that energy still lingering. All right, moving right along. The very last article that I have this evening here on the Narrator Podcast Weekday Edition. The headline reads, Black woman from Columbus County celebrates having been a teacher for almost 70 years, and our matriarch Our queen mother's name is Miss Everline Davis, a Columbus County, North Carolina resident. She started teaching back in 1956 during segregation, and then throughout post-integration at Tabor City in South Carolina. So despite her age, she still maintains authority in the classroom she teaches in. So she still can put it down, put an unruly child in their place, a student at 70 years young. Join me into giving our sister, Miss Everline Davis, a warm narrative podcast round of applause. All right, and then just the underlying point that I always make anytime I'm talking about education, I always have to push this out. I just got to make this point. We need our own schools at every grade level because, them folks ain't going to teach us right. So, we need to make it universal, especially here in the United States at every grade level. It needs to be at least one school just for all of us to give us, every advantage we need in life. Not saying you can't, ascend to, higher heights in a predominantly white school or a mixed, race school with, diversity, a little bit of everybody. But, we need schools just for our people because, we're going to catch the bad end of business if we don't. It needs to be like one in each state in the United States. We have people stepping up, doing their part, making it so there's like a new institution popping up, every 9 months to a year. In some place in the United States, it just doesn't get a lot of coverage when it does, but the need is there. We have to. It has to be, from grade K to 5, and then middle school, and in a high school, in a traditional 4-year college, not historically HBCUs. The only thing I have against the HBCUs is that they're, named after founders who owned slaves. So even though there's a large concentration of us in attendance, that looming presence of a dark time in our past is still, surrounding that. And for that reason, that's why we need our own traditional 4-year colleges and, vocational training skills facilities as well as community-based colleges. Just saying, we need our own, but that's good that she spent so many years teaching our children. All right, wrapping it up tonight, this Wednesday, on the weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. Some stuff I want to talk about. I'm not going to do a deep dive. So just one headline. McDonald's is now charging for refills. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. I'm here for it. Yes, charge the refills. Charge for the refills. Please charge for the poison, because that's what McDonald's serves as poison. All our QSR's restaurants, here in America are serving poisons. McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all of it's poison, 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 and banned in other countries. But we steady sitting up there buying it. So now McDonald's is equivalent, as well as other QSR restaurants, equivalent to a sit-down meal. And after being involved in the you-know-what, the pandemic, for the you-know-what, should we even be wanting to go out to eat? Shouldn't that be enough motivation to just stay home, cook your own meals? Because being a hospitality professional for over 5 years, I got to tell you, little to no people in that profession follow the guidelines, the HACCP guidelines, the OSHA guidelines, the Safe Serve guidelines. It's just not something that you can readily enforce in that industry. Like, people come to work sick because they're scared to miss a day because they want, to get paid, to pay their bills. So they'll come to work sick. I've witnessed people drop food on the floor, put it back on the plate, serve it to the customers. I've witnessed chefs sitting up there making the sauce, and they stick their finger in it, lick it, and then still serve the sauce for their dish for the finger. They put their ungloved finger in to taste. I've witnessed servers, like when you get in your to-go, when you're at a restaurant, you tell them, box it up to go, and when you looked at your plate, like how much food you got, but then when you get your boxed up order to go, and you leave, and you look at your boxed order, and you could swear you had more food than that. I've seen servers sitting up there pinching off of their to-go orders, like taking the fries, taking a little pinch of the sandwich, or getting them a fork. If it's pasta, take a little nip of the pasta before boxing it up. Don't know if you spit in it or whatever. And most of them restaurants offer, their employees to eat free or a discounted rate, but they do all that stuff anyway. But yeah, though, that's really good news that McDonald's is charging for free refills because, soda, the soda served, or pop, whichever region you're from, it's a big debate. Some people say soda, some people say pop. I kind of interchange. I call it pop, I call it soda. Some people call it soda pop. I don't know. Whatever you call the fizzy liquid. Like all the fizzy liquids served here in America are toxic. So maybe that'll help a whole lot of us from having health problems. Will help with the hyper obesity. Because one thing in America we are, we're not going to spend money if we don't got to. Maybe that'll slow y'all down, drinking all that fizzy liquid that doesn't have any nutritional health value, just messing up your teeth, corroding your insides. So that's a good thing. That's very good that McDonald's is raising the prices. It said it's going to be a thing probably in the next 5 years that all QSRs, abandon the free refill policy and now going to start charging for refills. for their dine-in customers. Well, that's really kind of all far as a speaking point, far as like, news, current news that I had. But I do have one little thing I want to leave you with. Something that I didn't do on my weekend edition of the Narrative Podcast. On my weekend edition, I usually end it with my final thought or final word of the day. And I had it in the notes, but I just kind of skimmed over it. I think my topic was, during the weekend was Tiffany Haddish's debacle she had, the backlash she had, and I kind of unpacked that. Got a little long-winded and just like ended the podcast without doing my final word of the day, and it went so well with the whole thing because the next day was Mother's Day, right? And I did my upload on the Saturday, but it really was kind of centered around that theme of Mother's Day. It was like on my mind, or as we say in our community, the original community, when something's on your mind, it was like we say in my spirit. It was in my spirit to talk about it. But, in my haste, I kind of just I just skipped over it in my haste to wrap the episode up because I got so long-winded about, that particular topic. But anyway, I'm going to rectify it today. I don't usually do a final thought for my weekday edition. I just stop at the current things that I'm covering. Current events, whatever the current events that I'm covering, I stop there. But, because I forgot, on Saturday, I'm going to just say my final thought of the day and then wrap her up, plug, whatever I got going on and wrap this episode up. So my final thought of the day that was originally intended for Saturday, my final thought of the day is reciprocates. Reciprocate. The way the world works is you got to reciprocate. It's a quantum law. You must give back. A very common thing, people, everybody's so goal oriented now. And, the common thing when you're achieving goals, people say, well, you only get life out of it. You only get whatever you want out of life based upon what you put into life. So when you're chasing a goal, your results is based on, whatever you put into it, like the amount of time you invested in it. So, for the people living at a certain level, like all those people that are successful now, that went viral, like you don't know what they put into doing that. What they sacrificed to get there. You don't know what the Beyoncés of the world sacrificed to be where they're at today. Because, the time they put in the universe reciprocated results for them. You don't know what, all the, Jay-Z's and the 50 Cents and the, all those, successful people, the Oprahs, the Tylers, the, all these like highly successful, wealthy people in our community. That's just the universe reciprocating all the work that they put in. So the final word is today is reciprocate. When we're in relationships, people kind of break up because the other person didn't reciprocate, especially that one special little favor that people in a relationship, they're involved in. Come on, y'all, keep up. We're all grown. Let's talk about it. They They did a special little favor for you, but you didn't reciprocate. You didn't do the special little favor back. Nobody wants to be around people that don't reciprocate. You know, it's like, what are we doing it if we're not getting something out of it? Not saying that, you know, you should do charitable deeds with the expectation you're going to get something back for doing something nice. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, like, important things in life require reciprocation. You have to be willing to give something of yourself, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's talent. So reciprocate means give. You got to give something. You don't get nothing in life if you don't give something. You got to give your 110 of something at that. You can't just give a half-ass effort. In whatever arena, however you want to slice it. You got to show up in all things and be able to reciprocate at any given time. And then also not allow things into your life that don't reciprocate. Like, why would you sit up there and be in a friendship, be homeboys, homegirls, you know, they dump their emotional load on you all the time, and you always listen unbiasedly. You know, you're not judging their situation. You're just being that good friend. But then the moment when life gets too much for you and you need a strong shoulder to lean on, or just a free ear to listen to you vent, then all of a sudden they ain't got no time. Oh, they're rushing you off the phone. They want to throw a little, half-assed little scripture verse at you if they're religious. And you want to still be friends with that person that don't reciprocate? Family too. Ain't no written law you got to stay family just because you're bound by blood. If they don't reciprocate, they always want something. The second you need something, they got to check the calendar. They got 8 million reasons. Yeah, I just hold on. I'm going to have to check this. I'm going to have to check that. I'm going to have to check that. But when they call on you, you drop everything. Come running. You don't even care. If you got it, if you got a little bit of it, it's the person that needs it. You got a little time to spare. You're giving the time to you. Got a little bit of money to spare. You're giving your money to them. But the second you need something, you got to wait. You're going to keep on being around family that don't reciprocate. It's just like such a versatile word that could work in all situations and all forms. Everything requires reciprocation. So final word of the day, reciprocate, receive it. That was supposed to be on the weekend episode of the Narrator podcast. That's how I end all my weekend episodes, but I just forgot it in my haste. But this episode of the Narrator podcast is officially a wrap. Thank you all for listening. So now I'm going to broadcast as many possible days that I have available during the weekday to do weekday episodes of the Narrator podcast. So in order not to miss the latest episode of the Narrator podcast, hosted by me, Halzie Allen, what you will want to do is follow me on YouTube, and I'm Halzie Allen on YouTube. I'm Halsey Allen on YouTube, and you want to click that subscribe button and notification all, and you will get the most recent uploaded episode of the Narrator Podcast. And then what you want to also do is follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. And I'm Halsey Allen on that. Halsey Allen at I Stay Good on Twitter. And the reason why you want to follow me on both of those mediums is because this platform that I'm broadcasting on right now, it automatically uploads the most recent episode of the Narrator Podcast is like as soon as I'm done recording. So the instant I'm done recording, it automatically uploads to YouTube and automatically uploads to X. Any other platform that you may come across the link on, it's probably because I physically uploaded it up there. I went to the site and I put it up there, but the best way is YouTube and X. And I think also probably like Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. And I think iHeart. I think it automatically does it to iHeart too, because it's like I got it like linked, like automatically linked to all these other different podcast things. But for sure, either YouTube or X. So follow me on either of those two mediums, and you'll get the latest episode of the Narrator Podcast. And having said that, download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from. So click that link. There's going to be a little arrow that's pointing down. Click that arrow that points downward to download the episode, as well as the heart-shaped like button, and then the little square box where you can write a comment. Do all that. We know, you know what I'm saying? We live in a digital age. We know how them CPMs do, so do all that. But whatever you do, make sure you download the episode. That's the biggest thing. And then as far as downloading, the best way to download the episode of the Narrator Podcast is on my X account. So when you go to the X account, it'll take you directly to the, when you click on the link on my X account, formerly known as Twitter, it'll click directly on the episode, and you can see the download button clearly. You can see, the like button clearly. You can see, the comment box clearly. YouTube, not so much. I mean, it'll play the episode, and then of course on YouTube you can comment on YouTube. You know what I mean? The YouTube comment box. But for the podcast, you will want to go to X and click on the link that's featured on X, and then click the download button, the like button, the comment button, the share button, all that. Next order of business, I have also written a book of poetry titled The Black Card. The Black Card is featured on poetizer.com. Poetizer.com has a virtual online bookstore for the users of that community, that site. And what poetizer.com is it's a community for writers, people that like to write, especially poetry. That's why it's called Poetizer. But, they also welcome people to do novels, short stories, composition pieces, journal writing, anybody that likes to write. That's the community for you, poetizer.com. And what they have is a feature which will allow the users to turn their work into a book. And that's what I did on that medium. I transformed a collection of poems into a book. They got a virtual online bookstore, for your books, your work that you transform into books to, market and sell. So go to poetizer.com and get my work that I transformed into a book. And the title of it is called The Black Card. And what it's about, it's basically like an all-inclusive look, a snapshot, if you will, of our people, original people, black people, whatever you want to call us. It's just an all-inclusive look at us as a people, everything we experience as a people, all the nuances within our culture, positive and negative. If you're an original man or original woman, you're definitely going to find a poem on there featured in that book that it's going to resonate with you. It's just like an unspoken bond type of thing. People outside of our culture, they can definitely read it and see the creativeness of it, and have developed an affinity for it, even though they can't directly connect to it, like they don't have an immediate connection to it. For them it'd be an acquired taste. They'd be like, oh, that's creative, I like that. But original men and original women, people of our community, you're going to find that immediate connection. It's going to immediately resonate with you. So go to poetizer.com and purchase, my book titled The Black Card, which is essentially a survival guide. Purchase The Black Card today on poetizer.com, their virtual online bookstore, or get your black card revoked. Next, speaking of poetry, I have a poetry blog on blogger.com. And the link to the blog is www.mrhallziesblogs.com. My tagline for that is poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And the poetry featured on that particular blog is just a collection of my poetry. The unique thing about it is it's, all the poetry featured on that blog is just completely spontaneous. I wrote it off the cuff in the moment. I didn't contemplate on the subject matter. I didn't contemplate on the title of the pieces of the poetry featured on that blog. But they're so detailed and intricate, you would think that I drafted it first and then posted it, but no. I swear to you, right hand to the creator, it really just poured out like that, My poetry on that blog is comparative to a freestyle rap or spoken word poetry. So you would definitely love it, and that's poetry for everybody. I got poetry specifically for our community, like about, I would say less than a dozen that just specifically relates to our issues. A few poems dedicated to some people within our community. But for the most part, anybody can read that poetry and, get something out of it, feel some type of connection, be able to, relate to the poem some type of way. So do yourself a huge favor and check out my poetry blog on blogger.com, Hallzies Poetry Corner at www.mrhallziesblogs.com, and the tagline for that is poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And how you can support my poetry blog is to simply hit that link on Hallzies Poetry Corner, www.mrhallziesblogs.com. Share either the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner or poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms, across all mediums. Now, for people that have visual platforms such as like YouTube or TikTok, or stuff like that, what I would need you guys to do for me is to like shout out either the link or a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner across all platforms, that would be so monumental, because I will funnel all that back into this platform, and I'm gonna keep growing this platform, the Narrative Podcast, and keep on giving you guys a better experience for the podcast, better production value, and eventually make that transition into visual space, like actually doing a platform where you're looking at me. I'm interviewing guests and all that. But anyway, go check that out. Halsey's Poetry Corner on blogger.com at www.mrhalseysblogs.com. And that's a rapper dapper chappers. This episode of the Narrative Podcast is officially over. So remember to download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast wherever you get your podcast information from. Join me later on this week for another edition of the Narrative Podcast, and this weekend for a full episode of the Narrative Podcast. A full weekend. On weekends, I do a full episode of the Narrative Podcast. The format's slightly different. What's different between the weekday and the weekend episode is I have more sections. So to find out all the sections I got, you got to tune in this weekend to the Narrative Podcast to listen to it. But this episode is officially over. Thank you all for listening. Join me again for my next episode, for my next upload of the Narrative Podcast. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I'm asking you to join me in my mission to change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative on my end one episode at a time, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrative on your end one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen and the Narrative Podcast signing off, and it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.